The first time the swan doubted her own reflection, the lake was perfectly still. She floated alone in the pale light of early morning, her white feathers resting on the glassy surface. For years, other animals had called her beautiful. Children pointed from the shore. Painters tried to capture her in color. But lately, their words slid off her like drops of water. Inside, she felt heavy and gray, as if someone had turned down the light in her chest. A storm had shaken her life weeks before. Not a storm of rain, but a storm of words. One cruel sentence from someone she trusted had cut through her calm. "You only matter when you look perfect." The words echoed in her mind every time she saw herself, each echo sharper than the last. So she started avoiding the sunrise. She woke later, swam with her head down, and hid in the reeds when visitors came. When the wind made the water rough, she felt almost relieved. A broken surface meant no clear reflection, and no reflection meant no judgment. It was easier to stay hidden than to face the image the cruel voice described. One evening, as dark clouds gathered on the horizon, an old heron landed quietly at the edge of the lake. His feathers were a patchwork of gray and white, worn by time and wind. He watched the swan glide with stiff, careful movements, as if the water might break beneath her. "You used to dance under the sunrise," he said gently. "Now you move as if someone is watching you with a cruel eye." The swan's neck stiffened. "Someone is," she answered. "Me?" The heron tilted his head. "Then perhaps the storm is inside the mirror," he replied. She did not answer. Thunder muttered in the distance. That night, the storm finally arrived. Rain attacked the lake, carving tiny craters into the surface. Lightning split the sky, and the wind pushed the water into wild waves. The swan fought to stay near the reeds, but the current dragged her toward the open center. The peaceful lake she thought she knew had become dark and dangerous. She flapped her wings, struggling against the wind, water slapping against her body. "Why is everything against me?" She cried silently. A flash of lightning lit the world. In that brief second, she saw herself reflected in 1,000 broken pieces across the waves, stretched, twisted, blurred. None of the reflections were perfect. None looked like the calm picture others used to praise, but somehow they all looked alive. Toward the old heron, who stood firm on a half-submerged rock, she called over the wind, "Look at me. I am a mess. The lake is ruined. I should have stayed hidden." The heron shook his dripping wings. "You forget," he called back. "The lake is not made only for clear days." He pointed his long beak toward the churning water. "This lake is still a lake in the storm. You are still a swan in the storm. The waves do not erase what you are. They only change how you appear for a while." The swan panted, her chest burning from the effort of staying close. "But I feel ugly and weak," she said. The heron's eyes were soft. "Feeling ugly does not make you ugly," he replied. "Feeling weak does not make you broken. It only means you are tired from fighting a lie." Rain continued to fall, but his words landed somewhere deep inside her. She realized how much strength she had spent trying to protect a perfect picture instead of caring for the living bird beneath it. The storm raged all night. She flew short, low circles above the water to keep warm, then rested with her head tucked under her wing on the least violent parts of the lake. Each time she glanced down, the reflections shifted, wild, shattered, unpredictable. Slowly, she stopped trying to judge them. Not every reflection needed a verdict. By dawn, the storm moved on. The clouds opened, and thin light spilled onto the lake. The surface was still rough, but calmer now. Leaves floated everywhere. Broken branches lay near the shore like quiet memories of the night. The swan felt exhausted, but her tiredness felt honest, not shameful. She glided toward the old heron, who stood watching the rising sun. "I survived," she said. He nodded. "Yes. And did the storm tell you who you are?" She looked down at the water. The reflections were still not perfect. Bits of sky, pieces of her body, and shadows of branches mixed together. No single image could hold all of her. "The storm taught me that the lake cannot show my whole self," she replied, "and neither can one person's cruel words." The heron smiled. "Good. Then perhaps you are ready to see the sun rise again." He stepped aside, giving her a clear path into the open water. The sky blushed pink and gold. As the sun climbed higher, the lake slowly smoothed. For the first time in weeks, she did not rush to check if she looked perfect. Instead, she watched the lights spread and warm her feathers. She spread her wings and moved across the surface, not to impress anyone, but to feel the joy of her own body cutting a path through the water. Tiny ripples followed her like soft applause. Later, a young duckling swam hesitantly beside her, staring at its uneven reflection with worried eyes. "I look wrong," the duckling said. "My feathers stick out. My beak is strange." The swan remembered the storm, the broken reflections, and the voice that had hurt her so deeply. She bent her neck and touched her beak gently to the duckling's head. "Listen," she said softly. "The water can only show a piece of you. People's words can only describe a piece of you. You are more than what they see, and more than what they say. If you have ever looked in a mirror and believed every cruel thought, remember the swan, the wild lake, and the patient heron. You are not a picture. You are a living story, still moving, still growing, still learning to see yourself with kinder eyes."